Alright, well, I said I was gonna finish this game, and by gosh, I meant it. So obviously last year I started Sonic 06, I recorded the entire game in about 3 days, and then my computer just stopped working and all the footage got trapped on there, so I finally, enough time has passed that I felt good enough with re-recording it, so here we go with Silver.
This world was devastated before I was born. A harsh, bleak place where we live in eternal darkness. Life is a struggle, and people live without hope. How did this happen? No one will answer me directly, but they always point to the flames. These flames, they burn away at my world, destroying everything in their path. They come from an eternal life form that we cannot truly defeat, the flames of disaster known as Iblis.
Silver!
Blaze, what's wrong?
He's appeared again!
Gee, I can't wait to be able to do that in-game. That looks like it'll be a lot of fun. So here we are, Silver's first level. We got Crisis City, which is kind of cool that this is his first level. You know, it's like halfway through Sonic's story, but I think this is cool. So, Silver obviously controls very differently from Sonic and Shadow. Silver has always been my least favorite part of this game. It kind of changed somewhat these last two playthroughs. The one that I had last year and then this one. They were definitely the smoothest times that I've had through Silver's story, and I'm not gonna say I had fun, but I enjoyed myself more than I usually did. So Silver's gimmick is that he can control things with his brain. You press the right trigger to pick things up, you hold it down to pick things up, and then you press the square button to throw them. We'll get kind of more into this as we go on, but he also has this kind of float ability. He's not really flying, as we saw in that cutscene where he just took off. He just flew right away. You cannot do that in the game, unfortunately. It would be pretty nice if you could, but unfortunately you can't. The biggest problem with Silver and all of his levels and his gameplay overall is that he is way too slow. He is far slower than any of the other characters in this game. Although I think there are other, like, friend characters that are technically slower. Like, one in Silver's story is actually slower than Silver. But in terms of the main three characters, Sonic, Silver, and Shadow, he is the slowest. Which is fine in some ways, because Sonic's speed was a hindrance sometimes. Just due to the fact that sometimes you went too fast and you couldn't really accurately control him. So, Shadow is probably the best, like, in between. He's not as fast as Sonic and he's not as slow as Shadow, or as Silver. So, I still think Shadow is probably my favorite part of this game. But Shadow does have some BS, as does Silver, that we'll get into. You know, the worst part about Sonic is that he has the Mach speed sections and he's a little too fast. Silver, his problems are that his levels go on way too long because he's so slow and because there's more focus on combat. Like, Silver does not have a homing attack, which all the other characters do. Shadow does, Sonic does. It would be incredibly useful if Silver could simply just homing attack enemies. But no, you have to pick up objects to throw at them. Which, again, is a cool concept. And it's done fairly well, but it just takes too long. And also, I feel like Silver's story, the game slows down way more. Probably because there's a lot of objects on screen that they want you to pick up. That's the only thing I can think of why Silver lags way more than any of the other characters. Again, it feels like you're like wading through soup trying to play this game sometimes. He also has these context-sensitive moments where you can do something that the game wants you to do. You know, launch yourself up, go through a gate, or something like that. Those are not that often do you come across those, but, you know, they'll come sometimes. So the trick to using Silver I've found over the years is when you pick something up, first off, I like to jump while I'm doing it, because if you stay on the ground and you throw things, I find that they collide with each other far more often, and not only do they collide with each other, they collide with the ground. So I like to jump before throwing things, and don't just mash the square button, because again, they'll kind of collide if you throw a bunch of things at once. So I like to just throw like one thing at a time usually. But we're actually about to enter into the best part of Silver's story, which is that occasionally you will get to play as Blaze, and Blaze is probably most likely the best character in this game to play as. I think she's more fun than Sonic. Again, she's fast, but she's not too fast. She's got a nice double jump. She has her own kind of homing attack. That attack that I just did there is technically a homing attack. And she also has an attack that allows her to spin around the ground. But Blaze is a lot of fun. I think a lot of people consider her to be the best part of the game, and I'm definitely one of them. Anytime that you get to play as Blaze is a very, very fun level. Blaze is from the Sonic Rush games, which I've never played. I've never played a single one of them. They didn't look interesting to me. So I don't know. I think there's some like issues with her inclusion here. Like, she's from another dimension in that game, but here she's from the future. So I'm not exactly sure. God damn, it's so slow. Now, I've seen some potential fixes for the game slowing down like this. Apparently, if you uninstall the game and then reinstall it, it might fix it, but I don't think that would happen. Also, I've seen, this one doesn't seem as, likely, but you can apparently turn it from 1080p to 720, and that'll fix it, but I don't know.
I'll go on ahead.
So yeah, I feel like in Sonic's level, well, I don't think Sonic goes through these, yeah, no, Sonic doesn't really go through these areas in the level, or does he? Does he? I feel like he's more in the air. Maybe he does go through these areas, but it's just so much slower. It's significantly slower as Silver. So another trick that you're seeing me doing is when you want to use Silver's hover, they want you to hold it down. But if you keep tapping the button, you will instead be able to kind of get farther. And it's not quite like a sequence break, but there are times where you can use that to your advantage to get to places that they didn't intend you to get, like, immediately. Like, sometimes they would make you go to a different platform before you get to the one that you actually go to using that method. So those are the things that kind of help make Silver's story a little bit more palatable, make his gameplay a little bit more enjoyable. So I really hope that you get used to the sound of Silver mashing the hover button. His voice actor, Pete Capaldi, I think his name is, I used to not really like because his voice is too whiny, but it's grown on me quite a bit. His current, or I don't know if it's current anymore, they probably got recast along with all the other actors, but he was voiced by, I think, Bryce Papenbrook, who was the dub actor for Eren in Attack on Titan, and I guess that was fine. He had a good voice for that. And speaking of voice actors, that whole Roger Craig Smith thing was wild. I don't think I've actually been able to talk about that yet.
Great.
That he said he was, you know, leaving the role, and I was so bummed out about that because he's still my favorite Sonic actor. And then, like a month or two later, he was like, "Yep, I'm back." So that was really cool. I am very happy that he will be in the next Sonic game, which is either called Rangers or Frontiers. It's unknown right now.
Come on, you monster!
So this is Iblis 1, I believe. I mean, I don't think they actually, like, give it form names, but this is the first form that we fight. There's 3 forms of Iblis in the game. This one is the first one, so I'm calling it Iblis 1. All these fights, you fight this boss technically twice, sort of. It's very annoying, it's very tedious. Most of... I keep wanting to call him Shadow. So if I accidentally call him Shadow, just know that I mean to call him Silver. Most of Silver's bosses go on way too long because you have to throw things. You only get a certain amount of throwables, like, at a time. They will respawn after a time, but it takes sometimes too long. But throwing objects, I feel like sometimes they have a mind of their own. And even though I'm, like, facing Silver towards the thing I want to throw them at, he'll just throw them off to the side or, like, up in the air. Also, that building, I feel like he changed its location, like, multiple times, which is why I ran into it. It looked like it was over to the right of me, so I kept running left, and then it went once, and then he moved it, like, over to the left, so I don't know what that was about. I think that's cool. That's a cool use for Silver's powers. I think that's when it looks and feels the most cool to use, is when an enemy is shooting something at you and you can just pick it up and throw it back at them, like Neo in The Matrix. There's not really much you can do about that attack. Yeah, this boss is easy, though. It just goes on way too long. There's another boss like... not to get too ahead of ourselves, but there's another boss like this that is slightly more annoying, and it still is, you know, way too long. Like most things in this gosh dang game. At least for Silver. Actually, when I recorded this, I recorded the final story last, because the final story is always the thing that I have the most issue with. So I just wanted to get that out of the way. So even before I did Silver's story, for this new, fresh recording, I did the final story first. Just because I didn't want that hanging over my head like, okay, I'm kind of having fun with these levels, but I know sometime soon I gotta do the awful final level. Get out of here, you foul beast. He's doing like the Terminator. Do a thumbs up, bro. Oh, so close. Great! I don't remember what he says. I think I get like a C or something here.
Looks like I'm on a
Nope.
roll.
See, that's how shitty Silver's levels are. They're so long that even if you take way too long, you still get a really good rank.
Looks like we stopped it for now.
But it'll just rise up from its ashes again. What's the point of all this? It'll never end.
Calm down, Silver.
Then tell me what we should do. How can we completely destroy Iblis?
By knowing the truth, of course. Just as a flower comes from a seed, or a chicken comes from an egg, everything has an origin. You need to find the being originally responsible for this catastrophe.
Is that really the answer to our problem? Tell me, do you know who it is?
I don't know, this guy seems trustworthy to me.
To fix this present timeline, you need to change the past.
But that's impossible!
With my help, you can. Because I have the power to travel through time.
No way!
In order to change the past, you must eliminate the individual who has awakened Iblis, the Iblis trigger.
If I eliminate that guy, will our world be saved?
The day of disaster. Here are my records of this event. This was when Iblis was freed, and his flames were released into the world.
I mean, I don't know. This guy's name is Satan, and he has no mouth. He seems trustworthy to me.
And you have this person to blame.
I see it! So that blue hedgehog's the Iblis trigger?
Blue hedgehog.
I'll send us back in time to the point when the Iblis trigger was alive.